we get that score to mean something to the patient? How do we get them to do something about it? That's what this is all about. So really, we want to follow the conversation on it. Will happen in the consulting room, right? We want to know what they're saying. We talked about that earlier. It's really important to continue that conversation. We want to ask lifestyle questions. It's super important. If this person, only goes outside to walk their dog once, a day, probably, maybe morning when it's not so bad, maybe it's not that important to them. Maybe they don't need to do much. And they're scoring fairly high anyways. They're eating a great diet. There's not much you can do for them. And they're already wearing sunglasses. Fine and a half, great. But other people, they're spending their time at the beach. Maybe they don't have sunglasses. They're driving, and quite often people live in one side of town. They're driving into the sun on the way to work and into the sun on the way home again. And the mornings and evenings can be the worst time because the sun's lower in the sky, so it reflects more directly. After a rain, the roads are really shiny, so you get lots of light in your eyes. So there's lots of different reasons why you might need to have more protection. Screen time is an issue, but you'd have to spend a lot of time on a screen compared to time outside. So I've done measurements because I was asked early on, how bad is it? And this is years ago. So this is about 8 or 9 years ago. I measured a few different computer screens and phones, and you have to spend at the time about 5.5 days looking at your screen to get the same impact as a 20-minute walk on the beach, right? So pretty hard to match that. However, most of us walking the beach would usually be wearing sunglasses and being cautious, and we didn't account for squinting and pupil constriction. So there's other factors to this, so that changes the numbers a bit. The other thing we didn't account for was the fact that screens have gotten brighter and brighter. So that was phone Samsung X3. We're now on S24, and guess what? They're way brighter. My S3, I can barely use it outside. It's so dull. They've boosted that up. It's so bright now, so you can put a lot of intensity through it. It also doesn't account for the fact that quite often it's kids that are using these devices now, and they're using them after dark, in bed, looking at these things late at night. Their pupils are totally dilated, and they're playing games. Bad combination. So blue light is a concern. We should be conscious of it. We shouldn't be scaring people about it, but if they are apt to do something about it, they want to do something about it, recommending a blue filtering lens is not a bad idea. I have them in almost all my glasses because I wear glasses all the time. I can't see without them, so why would I put an extra layer of protection in? Why not? I think of it as like a pension for your eyes, right? Blue filtering lenses only reduce the amount of blue light by about, typically 20 to 30%. It's not much, but if I think about the hopefully 85, 90 years that I might live, if I can reduce that blue light by 30% for all those years, then when I get to the end, instead of getting AMD at 85, maybe I'll get it at 90. Maybe I'll get it at 105. And I won't live that long, so I won't get it. Because the reality is we will all get AMD if we live long enough. It's a guarantee. It's a breakdown of our system. It's going to happen. So it's not if I get the disease, it's when will I get the disease. Chances are most of us won't live long enough to get it, hopefully. That's a good thing, but lots of people do. It's the most common cause of visual blindness, incurable blindness. So it's a serious concern we need to be thinking about. I always say, don't let patients leave your practice without just even having a plan for their sun protection, right? You don't have to get them to buy something while they're in the shop. Just say, look, go to the pharmacy, do something. What you're showing is that you genuinely care. If someone scores 4 or below on the MPI, they shouldn't be leaving here without talking to someone about their sun protection for their eyes. And as I say, it doesn't mean that they have to buy something from you. It just means that they need to be doing something, and you genuinely care. And you hope that when they come back next year, that they'll tell you, yeah, I picked up some sunglasses. Oh, can I see them? Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, they haven't. Oh, that's great. Fantastic. Right? Anything is better than nothing. So I know that cheap pharmacy sunglasses are not the best, but guess what? Most of them are UV protected because they're made out of plastic anyways, and they will definitely decrease the mild blue light, so it's a good thing. So we just want to help our patients. But what you can do is help them the best by saying, actually, we've got products that we know have been tested. We know they're good. They've got good quality anti-reflective coatings. The lenses will last a long time. And patients, if they pay a bit more for something, guess what? They'll look after them. Now, what do you do with the cheap, $2.99 glasses you bought at the pharmacy? They're at the bottom of your purse. They're in the car door. They're getting ruined. What do you do with the really nice pair of Maui gyms? Guess what? They stay in the case. They're looked after. You carry them with you. You wear them when you need them. And you respect them, and you feel good about wearing them. You put them on, these are nice. I mean, you're giving someone permission to buy a nice pair of sunglasses, to go home to their partner, and they say, "You spent what on a pair of sunglasses? Are you kidding me?" Yeah, but actually, I need them. They did a measurement today, and actually, I have low protection, natural protection from sunlight. It was a good investment. I'm happy I did it. They're going to spend $1,000 on a phone. Why not $1,000 protecting their eyes so they can see their phone in 10 years? Right? So, yeah. Don't feel bad about it. Give them good advice. This is what we're talking about. This is the sunlight spectrum stuff that I was talking about before. So if you break sunlight up into its relative wavelengths, down here you've got ultraviolet. I have to put ultraviolet here as black because we don't see ultraviolet light. Some animals do. I study animals like bees and fish that can see ultraviolet. We don't see it. We don't know what it looks like. We have no idea. We start seeing the violet around 400, 380, and we see up to about 730 nanometers, deep, deep red. This down here is the high energy stuff that's bad and dangerous. This up here is so low energy, it doesn't even stimulate your vision. That's why you can't see it. There's not enough, it doesn't have enough energy per photon to actually cause phototransduction, which is what causes vision. You just simply can't see it. There are fish that can though. There are fish that use a different chromophore than we do, the part that starts light, and they can see all the way up to like 830 or something. Cool. I'll study some of those. I actually wrote a paper about the fish that can see the deepest red light. This is the part you see. This is the important part, sunlight spectrum. That's what you get from the sun, the full spectrum of light. The lens and cornea block the ultraviolet. So for years, and even to this day, ophthalmologists will still say, oh yeah, it's UV light that causes AMD. Be really careful, protect your eyes from UV. It's fine, but UV light doesn't get to the retina. So that's not why we protect the eye from UV. We protect the eye from UV to stop cancer around on the skin and cataracts. That's why we wear UV protection, not to protect the retina, because it doesn't get there. After the age of 12, less than 1% of UV light gets to the retina. So that's not our concern. The reason they think that is that there are some studies out there that correlated ultraviolet exposure to age-related macular degeneration. And there's a correlation there. Guess why there's a correlation? Because see that plot in the background? That's the sunlight. And when there's lots of UV, there's also lots of violet blue light. But they didn't measure that, they measured the UV. So they said, oh, there's a correlation, so it must be that. Correlation is not causation, right? People will say, oh, marijuana is the gateway drug. We saw a correlation between people smoking marijuana and doing cocaine. Well, guess what? You could step that back and go, yeah, but actually cigarettes, well, that could cause cocaine use. Coffee. Coffee's a gateway drug. You can use cocaine if you drink coffee. Right? These are correlations. They're not causations. It's a big difference. So the ISO, which is the International Organization for Standardization, these are the people that put the UV 400 qualification on glasses that you would sell. They've come up with a term called the blue light hazard function, or the retinal light hazard function. And this is this little part of the light that gets through to the retina between sort of 380 and 500 nanometers that they know is dangerous. They know it's dangerous because they've looked at all the studies and yeah, UV is more dangerous, but this part is still bad. And that's the part we're trying to protect. When you look at the eye, as I've said, UV light stops in the cornea and lens, it doesn't get to the retina. But your macular pigments are your natural protection for the part of your retina that's the most sensitive to violet blue light. This is your fovea, the part you're using right now to look at anything in particular. Right? That's the really sensitive part of your eye. So what does it mean? Well, if you scored high on the MPI today, up around 9, then there's the blue light hazard, the bad light. This is the amount of protection being offered by your macular pigments. And that's the last little bit of blue light that gets through to your retina. So just a little tiny bit that gets through. So that's a good level of protection. If you scored a bit lower today, then more of that violet blue light's getting through to your retina. It's not the end of the world. It just means you need to think about how do I reduce that? How do I stop that? There's an easy way. Don't spend as much time outside in the sun. Make sure you wear a hat. Stay in the shade. Wear sunglasses, blue filtering lenses, photochromics, lots of things you can do. So if you guys are selling Essilor products, Xperio is one of their polarized lenses. It reduces the blue light, violet blue light by 95%. So really effective source of protection for you. So there's that blue light hazard, that's the little bit that gets through. And then if you add on top of that the protection you get from your macular pigments, even more protection. So it's a really good source of protection. So that's the spectral transmission. So that's, if you measured a piece of clear glass or a CR39 lens, you get basically a measure of 1 all the way across. It means all the light's getting through, and that's why it's clear. All these wavelengths get through. But if I measure these glasses, you can see that they decrease the light by a lot. Sunglasses aren't just for summer, and I think this is really important when you're in practice. Maybe not so much here, but where I come from in Canada, people don't sell sunglasses in the wintertime. The days are short, and it's not that sunny. So like, yeah, no bother, especially in the UK actually. So sunglasses sales are really seasonal. And that's not a good thing because think about your recall system. Someone comes in January, they come back in 2 years, in January, and January again. Who's ever having a conversation with them in that instance about sunglasses? Never happens. They never know. They don't get told. They're still living in the summertime when it's sunny, you just didn't see it. So I make it really clear that actually sunglasses are really important in wintertime as well for lots of reasons. One is that, first of all, with lower humidity, more violet blue light gets to the atmosphere, because humidity actually absorbs and scatters the light more. Secondly, the trees in northern climates don't have leaves in the wintertime, so you get more light in general, less shade. And finally, you get snow or more rain, so you get more reflection off the surfaces, and the sun is lower on the horizon, so it's not as high up. So you're not protected, so your eyebrows and eyelids, hair, if you have any, actually stop the light from getting to your eyes. But in the wintertime, the sun's lower, so it gets more direct in your eyes. So there's lots of reasons why wintertime is still a really important time to recommend sunglasses.
So none of us are moving to Canada, is what we just heard.
Not even for the healthcare system.
That was the take-home message.
Fair enough, fair enough. Transitions are also a fantastic option. I'm wearing some now. I love them. They're great. They just mean you don't have to think about it. And if you've ever worn them, when you first put them on, you're like, oh, that's a bit weird. Like, it does take a few seconds for it to get back to light again when you come back in. I recommend brown because our sensitivity peaks in yellow, which means brown is a bit like yellow, and so you don't even notice it. Once you get used to them, you forget you've got them on. You're out in the sun, and within seconds, they're sunglasses. Come back in within a minute, they're clear again, and you don't even think about them. And because you don't think about them, you don't even appreciate how good they are. They are a fantastic solution, particularly good for kids when parents don't want to have two pairs, worry about their kids losing the other pair, whatever. It's a great option. And again, they offer really good blue light protection. So they're about 30% when they're inactive, so that's this line, inactive, and when they're active, they're offering almost the same protection as sunglasses, so about 93%. I recommend brown. I recommend brown lenses in general, just because they do offer really good blue light protection. That's why they're brown. They aren't as good if you're on a beach in really bright sunny areas. Then you want the gray, and you want it very high, like 85, 95 level of transmission or blocking. But in general, they're a great pair because even on a cloudy day, you'll still wear them because you can still see perfectly fine. And finally, a blue filtering lens like the Eisen or Crizal Preventia or some of those will still offer between 20 and 30% blue light filtering. And you can see that they do it in different ways. This one's got like a blue reflection. Sometimes the lens looks a little bit yellow when you look through it. It has to be a little bit yellow or change the color in some way, shape, or form and offer any protection at all. Some of the companies will say they've got a blue light filtering lens. I think Hoya has one that's like a 9% protection. It's nothing. It's so low. So the more the better, for sure.
I find it effective to say that it's unregulated.
Yes, that is true.
Like we don't. There's no rule that says it blocks 1%, therefore it's blue light, or it blocks 100% and therefore it's blue blocking, right? So there's no. So I tell patients it's unregulated. I don't know what you got on Amazon, and neither do you, right? And so, and I have that funky pair where you put a blue light on it and it just turns hazy. Like, it's just, there's a bunch of junk out there. What's nice about these companies is they give us this data, and then we can be smart about that data.
That's right. And some of them, like people buy like computer glasses, and you get like really, really yellow ones, and that's effective. It does something, but it's going to change colors. It's so yellow, it changes colors. They can use them to change their sleep cycles, so you can use them to stop blue light at evening, which means you'll sleep better. That's great. But you wouldn't wear that all the time. So there's just so many different use cases. Color is very complicated. There's no one easy answer for color, and that's probably the easiest way to say it. People have to come to their own sort of perception. The big companies have come up with stuff that they've kind of fit to the norm, and it works generally really well. But it's not the answer for everything. That's a reality. There's all sorts of other things you could use. When you're making your measurements, I mean, today, what do we get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7. So yeah, about half of you scored what we call on the low end, right? 4 or below. So we'd be having stronger conversations about 50% of the people in this room today about just doing a little bit more to protect their eyes. Not a big deal, just do a little bit more. I think you'll probably see in the range of sort of conversations with between 50 to 70% of your patients, I suspect. You guys are probably the better end of society, to be honest. More people will probably have lower scores than you guys do. So that just means more conversations, helping people do the right thing. It's a good thing. See it as a good thing. It's a good conversation to be having, right? Before you had these devices, you might not be having this conversation with a whole segment of society. and therefore they're going on without even knowing that they could be doing more to protect their eyes. This is a really good thing. A low score being detected today, this is great news. Now we know. Let's do something about it. As we talked about before, it's a strong incentive, so I won't go over this again, but yeah, it's a good incentive. It's like that, it's a blood pressure monitor for your eye, essentially, and having that number makes a difference. It really helps quantify and get patients to think about what they're doing. We've got lots of support resources. So we've got our website has got lots of stuff on it. We've got the quick start videos on the tablets, and they go into some of this stuff as well and give you more information if you want. We've got a whole bunch of documentation which I can share with you. They're PDFs. I've already measured. So what are them? You guys sell Essilor products? Any other lenses you guys sell? Any other products?
There's some Shamir, like workstation.
Which is also Essilor, so it's the same.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's great.
What's not Essilor?
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, in this day and age, I think it's about, well, must be close to 50% of the market this corner by now. But yeah, if you had other stuff, if you ever get other stuff, you can send me lenses.
We use Blue Tech.
Blue Tech? Oh, do you? Okay, yeah, I met those guys years ago. Yeah. Interesting company. I've got measurements for Blue Tech, so I can send you the measurements unless they change. Otherwise, you can send me a sample lens and I'll measure it for you and send it back with all transmission. The companies tend not to do that, and I don't really know why. So I find it very useful practice to know, especially when you're dispensing. It's like, I've seen the measurements. I can tell you quantitatively how this is protecting your eyes. So I can put together a document for it if you want. We've got some dispensing advice, so it goes into way more detail than I was able to get through today. Talks about the different conversations and how you put that in place. We've got what you need to know about macular pigments, about blue light, and how the machine works. So if you want to do a bit of reading, you can go a bit deeper. We've got a user documentation. No one ever reads, but a couple hundred pages of all the things you need to know about this new machine. So if you love reading and you want to dig in deep, by all means, I can share that with you. It's got little fitty things about the software and other stuff like that. I've got an FAQ document. So this might be useful to have. It's a searchable Word document or PDF as you like. And there's just questions that we want to come across today that are going to come up that you'll get asked by somebody. You'll get somebody who's a lighting engineer, puts in lights, and they want to know this and that. I might well have the answer in there for you. So it's useful to have. That's a starting point. And then if you ever wanted to ask or talk to other experts, we're, bit by bit, we're putting together a group of experts across the country. I think Brian's already spoken to somebody else here in the U.S. that you talked to before you purchased. Is that right?
Yes, Larry Golson.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So there's people out there that have had them for longer than you guys have, and it's sometimes nice to just share stories and guarantees. Anything I haven't covered? Any questions? Got a little bit of time left. Happy to dig in deeper into some topics if you want. I think you're probably all feeling a bit overwhelmed. It's a lot of information to take in. I appreciate that. I appreciate how open-minded you guys have been and great questions so far. Really, yeah. Okay.
Any questions?
When will we start using?
That was great. That was gonna be I was gonna wrap with that information. So some of this is just finagling them onto the tables, right? So you may or may not see these on Monday. We're back on Monday, right? So you may or may not see these on Monday. That's okay. We'll figure that out and get through that. The other machine's not going away yet because we have some folks who are really, really dialed into their number and their score, and they want apples to apples, not apples to oranges, right? And some of that may be us too going, hey, you did really great on this test. Can we go back and do an MPOD just so we can better understand the relationship between the old machine, your old scores, and your new scores, right? So some of that is us getting better at figuring that out.
Can I cut in right there?
Love that.
Just because I've got some slides in here that will talk to that a little bit, I think. Yeah, here we go, right here. So I mentioned this before, that they're not exactly the same, right? And here's why. So this is all sorts of fancy looking sciencey stuff, but this up top are 3 examples of what we call macular pigment distribution if you plotted it on a 3-dimensional plot. So on the left is what we used to think everybody's macular pigments looked like. That you had a little bit out in the sides, and then it got denser and denser and denser to the middle until it was like really dense in the very center. That's what we thought for years and years and years. And so because of that, they invented heterochromatic photometry, the system you guys use now, and they measured just in the very, very middle. So where that red line is on this other plot, that's where they measured. Oh, there we go. So this part here in the center correlates with that little red line there. And if that was the way it was, that device could keep on working and give you really accurate results because When you measure in the center, if people increase, the whole thing goes up and down like this, and as you get higher, it all goes up and down. But more recently, we realized that there's actually 5 different patterns of macular pigment distribution. And you can see 3 of them up there, 3 of the most common ones. The middle is sort of more of like a hill shape. And then there's one that's like a crater or a dip in the middle. I myself, I'm the one on the right, the blue line over here. That's me. So I've got like a crater and then a little peak up in the middle. That's fairly common as well. So that's the 5th one. And there's another one that's a flat, nothing at all. Now, if you compare these 2 people, right? This one here, if you went on the the MPOD rather, this person would score 0.53. And when I go on the MPOD, I also score 0.53. Except the difference is that this person has not got very much macular pigment because it goes down so fast. Whereas I've got a whole lot because it's really wide. In fact, I've got a volume of 7,000, almost 7,800, almost 8,000, and this person's less than 4. So even though they scored the exact same number on the MPOD, they scored a very different number on the MPI. And that's why there's a difference. And we think that the volume, that total amount of macular pigment, is a more useful number